Hello, hello. I am Cassie Brown, and I am thrilled to welcome you to the Amplify My Impact podcast. After years of consulting and managing programs for some of the top entrepreneurs, CEOs, and marketers in the industry, I am on a mission to expand our contribution, to grow, scale, and create more so we can do and give more. This podcast celebrates entrepreneurs who are boldly stepping up to own their calling, expand their influence, and stretch outside their comfort zone, who've decided to stop playing it small, pick up the mantle of contribution, and serve at a higher level, to lead by example and light the way for others. If that's you, then get ready to amplify. There's a fire that burns inside your soul, and we're going to ignite it into a roaring blaze of unstoppable momentum. Hey guys, I'm Cassie Brown with Amplify My Impact. Welcome back to the podcast, and I'm really excited for today's guest, Mr. George Bryant. You may recognize him from the movement, the trademarked movement and Facebook group that is just leaving waves in our industry. Relationships beat algorithms. And I felt like I had a Jerry Maguire moment because it was not, you had me at hello, you had me at relationships. So we are talking everything incredible about true human connection, leaving the world better than you found it, and just stepping in and really rallying our voice, joining hands and just saying, you know, this is what we stand for. This is my business to serve other people. And I think the more that we hear it, the more that we say it, the more that we stand together, the bolder the message gets, and it can't be ignored. So we have no set agenda. We have a stop time, and we're just going to go and fill every minute and second with impact-driven content for you to enjoy. George, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for accepting to be here on the podcast. And I love everything that you stand for, what you share in your videos and your podcast. So a big fan of Mind of George. So let's just dive in and go where it takes us.
Let's do it. I am excited to be here. And for those of you listening, watching this, you missed the 35-minute prep talk. So we're going to have to do another podcast, and we'll cover all of that too, because we were greasing the wheels to get ready to deliver this content. So I'm stoked.
Yes. There's a few things that I'm a note taker. So
okay, I love it.
There's a few things that you mentioned, and you used a phrase, pull the levers that matter. But before we get to that, I really want people to understand the scope and the filter that has molded you to become who you are, to have this perspective in the first place, because we all have our journey, and you know that pushes us forward to be where we are right here and right now. So that's the question of what that means. And that is a little bit of what we talked about in the pre-interview start time. But who is George Bryant?
Yeah, I'll give the elevator version. The longer version you can hear on my podcast or somewhere on the internet. There's like 1,000 interviews. I grew up in a pretty broken home, right? So drug abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, disconnected home, no love. Like there was love, but there was pain covering it. So there's nothing there. So I did what any kid would do. I ran away, joined the Marine Corps, another disconnected organization, spent 12 years on active duty, 3 combat deployments, witnessed death, destruction, addiction, struggled with bulimia after my sexual abuse, all of these different things. I came out of that world, hid an addiction with another one, became orthorexic, and then taught myself how to cook. Became a food blogger, right? And so like I just lived this life of going. And I was rewarded for being an addict. And one of them, particularly when I became a food blogger, I hid there. I'm going to post every day. I'm going to respond to every comment. I'm going to do all this. I became a 22-week New York Times bestseller, #1 app in the world, #4 in the New York Times, multi-7-figure company. Well, I was losing 60 grand a month, dying on the inside, suicidal, depressed, and being there. And so you know, that's the summary of like how I got there. And what happened was that broke me. That company broke me and I disappeared. I went into the jungle on a silent retreat, came back, walked away from 1 million followers and 7-figure business. I gave it away overnight. I just gave it to somebody. I was like, here are the keys, signed over the corporation. I walked away, bank accounts, absolutely everything. And I went dark to discover who I was. And at the time, a few people had seen what I had done, because what I had done, it kind of broke the mold of what marketing was at the time, digital marketing. And they're like, will you help us? And I was like, sure. And so I became a consultant, and It was truly when I went behind the scenes of somebody else's business and I saw the impact that I was having on the world, and not in a positive way, that I started to shift. And I realized that every time I helped them add a comma to their bottom line, it wasn't going to the customer or to a charity. They were buying a bigger jet or paying themselves more and not their employees more. And I remember the reason I was successful in the Marine Corps is because we were a team. We hated each other. Like, you take 55 men that are forced to be together for 3 years. You can't fire each other. You can't quit, and you have to like each other. And you very quickly figure out what teamwork is, right? Like, that was the best way to describe the Marine Corps. And I realized that that was missing everywhere. And when I started to really reflect on what I had done, I realized that the only reason my food blog was successful is I had some really simple rules from day one. I will respond to every single comment. I will show up daily, and I will share my authentic truth, right? Whatever that was. If I was struggling, I was struggling. If I was happy, I was happy. And then I start working with these companies. And for those of you who are like, oh, this guy's full of it, I've spent $26 million in 1 month on Facebook advertising alone. Like, I've played at a level that I should have never been allowed to play at. Like, I got to play Monopoly with other people's monies, right? And it's a good thing. But I've worked with Fortune 50 companies, NBA teams, Adidas, Titleist, TaylorMade, On It, Reebok, Men's Health. Like, those are the people that I learned this with. And so I came from nothing to working all the way at the top. And what I found in the middle is that I have to carve this new path. And I have to get back to what really, really matters and teach people that in very, very cheesy, cliquey fashion, that relationships beat algorithms, because it's something that's been lost in this world. And I look at the world that we live in now, Casey, and I look at people talking about marketing, and all I hear them talking about is selling, 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 take, more, 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 more. And I was like, that's never been marketing. Ever. And I was like, it's this addiction to dopamine and more, and post-industrial revolution. And I wrote this down earlier because I knew we were going to do this. The definition of marketing is the activity, set of institutions and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. Nowhere in there is that I want to be a dictatorship, a broadcast, a one-way conversation where I expect you to give me your credit card, your social security number, and your firstborn in exchange for absolutely nothing, and expect it to work and then blame you when it doesn't. And so that's where I realized that this needed to be very, very different. And so that's how I get to here, where I got to refocus my priorities and do the work, heal the trauma, and grow every day. I don't have it figured out. I don't feel like I belong on a soapbox or with a microphone, because if I look at the game and it's 100%, I'm at like the 1.2 yard line, right? Like 1.2% is where I would give myself the acknowledgement of like, this is the journey I've taken. And I'm like, okay, cool. But I have a very, very long way to go. And so what I do is I'm open to playing the game every day, wearing my heart on my sleeve and saying like, hey, I figured this out. This worked. We can do this. Oh, we lost on this one. But constantly progressing forward, not waiting for it to be perfect. And that's kind of where we get to now. That is the shortest one I could ever give you.
That is awesome. And thank you for your service.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's very interesting, and I'm sure you've connected the dots, because like, the thing that I admire about you is you're a very deep and thorough thinker. Where your mission field has just changed, right? Whereas, you were trained for battle, like the literal battle that we read about and then we watch movies about, but the battle has shifted. Mm-hmm. And can you outline that for everybody? Because I think it's refreshing. I think it's well past time. Like even for myself a few years ago, like going through every phases of all of my own businesses, relationships have been the lifeblood of my business. Relationship marketing, I argued with my professors in college. It's what grew our small family business for my mom to be able to sell it and retire. It is exactly the same pattern that I followed when I created my photography business and grew that. But it's not sexy. It's not what people go into Google and type in, how do I serve better? How do I have a better relationship with my clients and customers?
Yeah.
So talk to us about that battle mindset, because
such a good question too. So good.
It's an uphill battle for all of us.
I'm going to tell you right now, I have more PTSD from our industry than I do 3 combat deployments. And that's a statement. I lost 28 Marines to suicide, and I witnessed 3 of them and seen things never seen, and it doesn't hurt as bad as what I see every day in
Yeah.
this world. Because what we forget, and like this is just the core of understanding humans. Humans are emoting creatures. We're supposed to emote. We're not robots. We complain about like we don't want AI to take over the world, yet we're just creating ourselves into these disconnected, unemoting robots, right? And so every decision that we make in life at some form or another is based on emotion. Whether you get up when your alarm goes off or not, whether you drink the water or not, do you add it or not, do you have the coffee or not? Like every single thing we do is based on emotion. Emotion drives decisions. And in order to have emotions, you have to be a human. And so when we think about this, the things that are designing or determining the journey that people take are their emotions. And there's human beings making these decisions based on their emotions, but yet we want to remove the emotions, disconnect from them, and expect them to make a decision in our favor. It's impossible. And so what we have to understand is that there is no relationship that is formed overnight. None that are formed in one moment. It's created, right? It exists in existence in time and space. In some instance, that relationship starts. The starting line is created. But you will not find me one person, and I've challenged everybody on this one, find me one couple that met and within the first 1 minute was married. You won't.
Yeah.
You won't. You'll be hard pressed in the current day and age to find me one pair of people, a man and a woman who met, who actually knew each other's names in the first minute. Never mind be married, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we're surrounded daily by what humans actually do and how we relate. But yet we've convinced ourselves that this world of marketing and digital marketing, the internet, is any different. And what
Yeah.
we're escaping is we're escaping what's required for it to work, which is us to feel the feelings that come with having to hold space and be in relationship with people, knowing that it's not always going to be dopamine and joy. We've become addicted to the quick close because it feels better than having the feedback of like, oh, I could have done this better, or I had to have more empathy, or I had to connect with myself to better connect with my customers. And that's the thing that's being escaped. It's not that technology is disconnecting us. It's that we are choosing to allow it to distract us. It's not technology, it's us. Because in a moment's notice, I'm like, hey, you're going to die of cancer if you don't get off Facebook and put your phone away for the next 30 days. That thing will be gone. It's a choice, right? And so when we
Yeah.
think about this, we have to remember that at the bottom of all of this, at some level, shape, or form, is a human being. Your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your kids, and my kids, and my mother, my father, my wife, my brother, going through this. And if your lens is always, how can I be human to human, agnostic of a transaction? There's zero way to lose the game. And everyone's like, you're full of it, George. Like, yeah, this is esoteric and this is woo-woo. I'm like, cool. Can you imagine if Apple only let you in the store if you pre-purchased at the door? Do you know that only 9% of people that go in an Apple store buy a product on that visit? 9%, which means 91% of their foot traffic and overhead of employees and staff in the store is just to create a container to let people to come get a touch point, play, modulate emotions, and move one step closer in a relationship to eventually come back and buy a product. And everyone's like, oh. And I was like, relationships.
Yep.
Relationships, not like, oh, I just saw George for the first time. I heard what he said. I'm going to give him my firstborn $1,000,000 and I'm going to have the world tomorrow. No, we're going to form a relationship where it's going to start. You're either going to like my bald head tattooed, really direct, hard on the sleeve kind of approach and, my crazy sense of humor. You're not.
Right.
And it might grow, it might not. You might grow closer, you might grow further, but that's the way that this goes. And marketing and business and all of it is no different. But I think the most important thing to remember is that 93% of all marketing is word of mouth. And you
Yeah.
can't outrun a bad reputation. So all you are left with, Maya Angelou nailed it. It's not what you said, it's how they feel. And so when
Exactly.
you think about digital marketing, email, social, Instagram, Facebook, can you imagine what it feels like to be that woman who's in postpartum depression, who you promised you would help lose that baby weight, and she commented 3 times and you didn't respond? Like, get off your effing high horse for a second and ask yourself, what does that feel like? Because most of the time, if you're selling that product, you were there. You remember? Because I do, right? What did I need? I didn't need the answer. I didn't need the holy grail. What I needed was to feel seen, heard, and respected. Because what it takes for that woman or any customer to put themselves out online, to leave a comment, to send an email, to even go to your landing page means that they've had to self-acknowledge something isn't working in their life, and they're advocating their safety to you, to trust and believe in what you have to deliver so they can change their life. They're committed to healing. And it's like saying somebody's like, I want to beat this addiction. Like, yeah, I'll totally help you. And you ghost them. And
Right.
that's why this matters. That's why this matters more than anything, because your product and a very wise person, I have to figure out who told me this. This was like a couple months ago. And I want to give the wrong person credit, so I can't. We live in this illusion that our job is done when a product is sold. The journey is not complete until the results of the product were achieved, or every iteration was solved so the best possible case scenario was achieved. Which means if you sell a service, your deal isn't done when you collect the payment. It's when your service is fully delivered as promised.
Yeah.
Not as lied about or overinflated, which we got into some pre-stuff, but we couldn't record that part. That's a good open loop for all of you.
That is a good open loop for part 2.
But I think like at the end of the day, Casey, like if I could like really, really boil it down to anything, it's like common decency, morals, values, respect, humans, empathy, compassion, connection, all of it. Take those same principles and apply them to everything you do online. And there's no different. Like, and everyone's like, oh yeah, but online's so big. I'm like, cool. Can you go into a restaurant and have 26 simultaneous conversations? You're like, no. I'm like, cool. I was like, you have to tend to the one that you're having. And I was like, so if you're having them on Instagram, don't try to go on Facebook. You're having them on Facebook and that's where you're called to. And that's the first app you open on your phone and that's where your people are. Guess where you're going? Facebook. Right. Now, do you want to have one-to-many? Sure, create a piece of content. And then when they start responding, go respond to their comments. But you have to realize that everything that you need to succeed in business is laid out directly in front of you in real life scenarios surrounded by us. And if we just pay attention to it, right? And my favorite one, Casey, I think you'll appreciate this one. Can you imagine how many people will be arrested for assault if you tried to get upsold eggs at the grocery store? Right? Like, hey, I'm glad that you bought a dozen eggs. They're in your bag. You walk with the door. Hey, wait, I know you bought a dozen, but you forgot the dozen more. Like, move out of my way, right? Or then you're like, I know you said no. How about 4 dozen for half the price? And at this point, you're getting arrested, right? But yet we think it's okay to do online. We think it's okay to insult somebody's intelligence. Like, can you imagine at Apple, every time you go in the store and you pick up an iPhone, you put it down, they wait 30 seconds like, hey, Casey, you forgot, you put it down. You forgot something. No, you forgot it, Casey. You're like, no, I didn't forget. I'm not ready yet. Yeah. Right. And so I think the best way that I think about it, because we're cramming and I'm cramming, you're listening, is just to realize that if you take a step back and think about it for what it is at the foundational level, not the surface level, not the wrapping paper, not like, oh, this is an Instagram comment or this is a social media platform, but like, what's the foundation? And the foundation could be a relationship and it's cool. And then what are the principles that guide and govern my relationships? Oh, we have a company culture. We respond to every comment. Are we doing that? No, stop, fix it. Right. Yeah. Or I want to have an open-ended communication with my customers. Am I doing it? No, great. Fix it. Right. And like, those are the things that you have to think about and reflect upon to make the biggest shifts in your business. Yeah. And I just want to share really quickly. I think it goes to a deeper responsibility, because in preparing for the show, you had mentioned like the two sides of a coin. And I think that as marketers, we have, that we've got to flip the coin of, if we are going to truly connect emotionally on a human level, we also have to bear the responsibility of being dedicated to follow through on that emotion that we opened. And everything that you just said, like, I love the quote that you shared. So I do hope that you find the person to give it. I will find it. I will find it. Because I think it's one of those things where it is taught, emotional selling is taught, connecting over story is taught. But where there's the gap of opportunity is, if you open that door, you have an obligation to stay there in that same emotional state, in that heart-centered foundation. Like, you can't have it halfway. Mm-mm. You have to turn over the coin, and you have to follow through, and you have to care about the results.
You
Mm-hmm.
have to care about the milestones. You have to care about all of the things that could get wrong. You have to care about your own journey where you find a better solution, update them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said, and I want to close the loop on the battle because I think there's a lot here to talk about. Like battle fatigue's a real thing, but when you think about it, the reason we train so much in the beginning before we go is to be prepped for any situation, to allow ourselves to remain clear under pressure, right? Like, so when things happen or you see a bomb for the first time, you hear a bullet for the first time, that you don't freeze and panic, right? Because frozen does not equal progress, right? You have to stay moving and in momentum. And I will tell you right now that I'd say probably 95% of all plans that are made go out the toilets and never follow it, right? But it's iterate and grow and grow and grow. And it's about consistency, right? Like you can never be driven by your emotions, because if you wait for your emotions to come, you're never going anywhere. And like you might be motivated 1 to 2 times a week, but you need to be doing something daily. And it's not about like, did I break a record or did I boom, boom, boom? It's like, did I move 1 inch closer today? Did I give
Yeah.
myself the chance to win the game today? And so for me, what I found is to be really imperative is to be really clear on where you want to go. Be really clear on what your 100-year vision is. And yes, I said 100-year vision. And if you haven't thought about that, you haven't thought deep enough about what you're doing.
Yeah.
100-year vision, get really clear on it. And then you have to break it backwards. You're like, okay, what is something I could do today that no matter what will bring me to that place, move me forward, and give me the chance to win that? And you set containers and you measure yourself and you measure your success on your progress and not your perfection. And there are going to be days, like let me just write you a permission slip. There's going to be days you're sad, depressed, angry, resentful. And there's also going to be days that you're joyful and exuberant and excited and on top of the moon. And you get to fully experience all of those emotions. And then you still get to come back to, what is that thing I'm doing today, regardless of all scenarios, to move my needle forward? And that's the most important thing. And I will tell you, the easiest thing as an entrepreneur to ignore and to move forward at the same time is your health, because you are
Yeah.
in a race car that you are responsible for, and you get one of them. There are no replacing parts. Like you're not going to replace your brain. You're not going to replace your heart. Like, and it's not going to work the same. You got to take care of it. And so
Yeah.
my default for entrepreneurs is always, you can't outrun your self-care, right?
Yeah.
And so that dictates what you give to your customers and your clients. The level of love that you give yourself is directly correlated to the level of love that your customers, your clients, and your team members feel from you.
Yeah.
And so make those things the non-negotiables. Those are principality based, because when you stick to those things, like, oh, I drank water today, I slept enough, you're going to have clarity, you're going to have energy, and you're going to be able to give your gifts and hold that emotional state that you reference open, regardless of the pressure that's coming from the world, because you're doing the work to be a lighthouse. Hence why I
Right.
use that analogy. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I love your analogy. It comes down to essentially, we are the lock where we create our own obstacles, and we are the key. We are
yes.
this we are essentially the problem and the solution, all wrapped up into one. And sometimes we have to see that and realize that we can serve so much bigger when we pour in and we recognize and we're removing our blocks, but we're also making sure that we're completely full before we can pour out. So I love that. And we opened it up with pulling the levers that matter. And I think clarity is one of those levers that matter. And so I wanted to wrap up on that, because we have to have more time. We have to come back. And I want to give you an opportunity to wrap up. Where can people connect with you? Where can people follow you? And clarity is only one of those levers.
Yeah.
You touched on several others. So feel free if you would like to open a loop, or
Yeah.
we can just leave it at that, and continue on the next session.
Just so everybody knows, the term for it is called the Zygarnik effect. It's the science of open loops, named after a psychologist whose last name was Zygarnik. And so that's what it's going to bother you. And so if you want all those answers, it's on my podcast, on the Mind of George show, which is www.mindofgeorge.com. But what I do want to tell you, when it comes to clarity, clarity is only one lever. But you need to be in the pursuit of clarity, not chasing the perfection of clarity, right? Because right now you might live in Florida and say, I want to visit California. I don't know where I want to go, but we're going to drive there. Let's just get on the road. And that's okay, because you change every day. You grow, you iterate, you evolve, and so will your clarity. But what you got to start is you got to at least start in the direction and move there. And you can make adjustments as you go. There's no straight path. to success. It's going to change and twist and bend and turn. And so I will tell you the biggest block for clarity is the fear of success. And so here's what you have to accept: that you already have it, that you're already good enough, and that you're already going to succeed. You just haven't put all the right ingredients in the right order yet, but your success is guaranteed. It's predetermined because you're doing the work. And so as long as you move forward, there's absolutely, and I mean absolutely, zero way to fail. And so keep moving and keep stepping, and that's where you'll go. So that's where I'll end for today. And remember that relationships always beat algorithms.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for listening, George. Thank you, as always, for bringing. I love your heart on your sleeve, because I have the same thing. And I would just, if you're listening, no matter where you're at in business, maybe do a little bit of inner reflecting and think, how much more of myself can I pour into this? How much more true emotional connection can I give? If there's something that bubbles up to the surface, and what I tell our clients is all the time, if there's something that bubbles up to your surface and is like, oh God, I hope they never find that out, that is exactly what you need to be talking about. That is exactly what you need to be sharing, because it creates the bridge of opportunity for others to learn through your experiences. So, George, thank you for being here. I can't wait to have you back. Bye, guys. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. I hope you've received value, encouragement, and exactly what you need to help keep you in momentum to grow and impact the world around you. Big or small, we all make a difference. Thanks also for subscribing, downloading, and leaving a review. This helps us reach others who need this message in their life. If you know anyone who would benefit from this podcast, please share, so you and I can help more people boldly step into purpose. It is my heart's mission to help and encourage others. My internal belief that a rising tide lifts all ships. So much of what we talk about on the podcast is leading with value and building relationships through service. So we've created a collection of resources for you to continue growing, whether you are just getting started or ready to scale your business. Visit amplifymyimpact.com for show notes, downloads, programs, and more information about how to directly work with our team to amplify your impact and change the world.